G'day legends, welcome to Beyond the Tape, where we are chatting with some of the best people in the Australian mountain bike industry, whether that's media, riders, tech crew, whoever. In this podcast, we're actually chatting with a photographer, XC racer turned photographer, Piper Albrecht. He's an absolute legend. So I really hope you enjoy this podcast. Before we move on, though, just remember that this podcast is sponsored by Trek Bikes. They want you to ride bikes, feel good, have fun. They make a bike for every occasion. Absolutely amazing. When you're on your bike, you want to wear something comfortable like Franked Mountain Bike Apparel. They're a huge supporter of this podcast, so jump over there, use Beyond the Tape, get yourself a discount. Shred Bike Care makes some of the best bike cleaning products. Been absolutely frothing their lens cleaner that stops it from fogging up. Absolutely love it. Man, Fist Handwear, best gloves on the market. Can't beat them. Get your hands in some gloves. Thank me later. If you want to head down to Tassie, enjoy the trails and make your life easy, hit up Tailored Trails from Tassie. They'll sort out everything for you for your best experience. Lead Out Sports are absolutely killing it in the tool game. They bring in some of the best tools like Abbey Tools and Pedro's. Just dropped a bunch of cool Pedro stuff. Dirt Surf Australia make custom mud guards with your logo on it. Jump online, make a rad logo, get those guys to do it. If you're looking to make your bike unique as well, hit up Capped Out Caps, laser engraved top caps, absolutely amazing. This is a re-upload of this episode as the last one didn't work, so if you're hearing this, you should get the full episode. Trying to keep these intros a bit shorter after a bit of feedback from a few media crew. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I absolutely loved it. As per usual, grab a beer, grab a water, grab a wine. Enjoy this episode.
We sneak into.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite fun. Yeah.
When do you leave again?
Over to Europe on Wednesday. Well, Thursday, but it's like 2 a.m. So call it Wednesday.
Yeah, fuck that.
Soon. Getting keen.
Do you have to stay at the airport to get there, or you just?
Yeah, I think I'll try and get dropped off as late as possible.
Yeah.
They get dropped off at 11 or something, then it's not too bad. So.
Yeah, I think the longest stint I've done in airport's 6 hours waiting for a flight.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Because it was in coming back from Japan, and the only way I could get there was by train. So the last train was at 10, and my flight was at 4.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, when I was in Norway last year with my brother, and I had a flight early the next morning, and so he dropped me off in the evening after work. I just rolled out my sleeping bag and slept in that and slept in there, which was actually quite good. I guess it gets to a length where you can fully relax into it, but when it's this sort of middle ground and you're sort of worrying and waiting, then it's a pain.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. You keen to jump straight in and get chatting?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You got any questions?
Get stuck in. How do you grow that luscious beard?
Just, shave in the morning, wait until now. Yeah.
The 5 o'clock shadow. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's like Europe, it's nighttime early here, so this just grows real quick.
Awesome.
Easy. Well, yeah. Piper Albrecht, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Did I say that right?
You did. Yeah. Get the whole gamut of different pronunciations. That was bloody good.
How's things traveling after the Australian silly season?
Yeah, good. It's always fun. Well, always fun. It's my first full season of shooting in Australia, but it's cool being close to home and being able to see all my Aussie mates and go to all the races. It's a fun scene. Super sort of relaxed. So yeah, but sort of straight into the European season now. So there's not much of a break.
But, how many events do you reckon you did over the last couple of months? Oh,
I reckon it would be surprisingly few, maybe 10, I think.
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I haven't actually counted. I try to do as many as I possibly can because every weekend I'm not at a race. I'm just sitting at home. So good to try and keep busy.
It is. It's a bit like that, isn't it? Like, yeah, you feel like you've done a heap, but it's actually been pretty chill. But
Mm,
yeah,
It's just, I'm kind of annoyed with how many clashes there were this year with events. It's kind of unfortunate. There's a lot of different ones that would have been fun to get to, but just timing didn't really let that happen, which is a shame. But
yeah, it's definitely
yeah,
like
there's been a lot on.
near impossible. I think it was impossible to do every event in Australia in the last few months, which is crazy
Mm.
considering we had nothing like 2 years ago, and now it's just like let's do it all.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool how many events there actually are. Like you could be, yeah, it's sick. They're sort of all over Australia as well. Like it's not just
Mm,
Victoria like it used to be, which is really cool.
yeah. Whereabouts are you based again? You and Vic, or
Yeah, I'm central Victoria, so about 30 minutes from Bendigo, an hour and a half from Melbourne.
oh, sick. Yeah, cool.
Nice and central.
Um, it must be pretty easy to shoot some events and do your work when you're living in Melbourne, though. Like I do envy it a little bit.
It's yeah, there's a lot more events I can just drive to. Whereas for you in Adelaide, it's a much bigger mission to get
Mm,
around. I've got a pretty solid Vic downhill series, I think, and enduro series. It's
mm,
not sort of my um, don't know much about it, but I think it sounds like it's pretty big, and there's a lot of pretty high quality events.
mm.
And if it's not in Victoria, it's just across the border in New South Wales, or and there's some in Adelaide as well. So it's yeah, pretty central, which is
Mm.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky to
And you can just
to be
drive
from
onto the boat.
Victoria.
You can just drive onto the boat to Tassie as well, which I'm so envious of.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all pretty convenient in Victoria, that's for sure.
Let's wind things back a bit. How'd you kind of get into bikes and riding? Because you started off as a rider slash racer, right?
Yeah, so I guess I started, couldn't tell you when, but my dad was into mountain biking and he got me and my brother into it when we were young. I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7. And so we would ride with him quite often, and then he would get us slowly starting to do the races and doing a lot of endurance races back then, like 50K races and 30K races. There was a lot of that, and which slowly then morphed into the more high performance sort of XCO racing over the years. Started to get coaches and all got a bit more serious then.
Why XEO? Why'd you go down that route?
That's a good question. I guess starting with the sort of cross country trail riding, like we were never doing downhilling. We were never like it was not the focus where we're from. It's all pretty rolly, and so if you want to pedal, if you want to go for a ride, you have to pedal. And all the races that we were going to were these sort of endurance events, and it sort of just made sense. We would get in fast, my brother and I. Um, and so he's 2 years older, and he got a coach and sort of moved into it more that way. But actually, I'm forgetting a small retirement phase that I had when I was, I think, 13. I retired for a couple of years and then came back at 16. And then I started actually training and got a coach. And that led me into more of a racing phase.
What you do in your retirement times? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you retire at 13. God, your life's over. Like, you got nothing else to do.
Yeah, not a lot. I think I got into planes. I like planes. Yeah, it was a couple of years.
Yeah.
Can't say I did much more schooling, but it was a welcome break. And then when I got back into it, because I wanted to do it. My
Mm.
brother was racing. I started with cyclocross, um, and I was still okay. I still had skills, I guess. I was still riding bikes in that period. Um, but yeah, I was then sort of on my own momentum, my own motivation to train and ride more and do the races.
Mm. And you got pretty damn good after a while. Like you went to world champs and you did some World Cups and stuff like that.
Yeah, um, and I was sort of up there with. It's always quite hard for Australians to compete on the world stage. Like the level is just such a big jump, and as for Australians, same with sort of Americans, it's to we don't get to race that level in Europe, whereas all the European countries they can do that whenever they want. Whereas for us, it's much harder. So I was good in Australia and went to world champs and got 40th, I think, first Australian, which was cool. Um, and then, yeah, it was 2019 in Canada. And then 2020, I finished school in 2019. So in 2020, I planned to go to Europe and race a season of World Cups, which COVID happened. So sort of just shifted that plan and then went over in 2021 for 8 months of racing, doing all the World Cups in Europe and all the other big UCI races, which was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Were you racing for like a team or anything, or was it all privateer stuff for
All privateer. Yeah, full privateer, which gets very expensive pretty quickly. Which was, I mean, I was lucky we had sort of Scott Morrison COVID youth allowance thing in 2020.
Yeah.
ScoMo paid for me to go over and race my bike in Europe, which was cool. But it didn't go super far. And at the end of the year, I came back home with about, I decided to stop racing, but yeah, I came back home with about $300 to my name. So even if I wanted to keep racing, to be able to get the money to do another season and train, it's a very, very difficult. You've got, 3-4 months to earn 15 grand whilst you're training full time. Like it's not easy. And there are people who absolutely make it happen, but I was not one of them, and I had decided to stop racing anyway. So I didn't need to try and juggle all of that.
What led to the stopping of racing? Was it the $300 in your bank account, or you just didn't enjoy it?
I think it was a lot of different things that all sort of added up. I think first and foremost, I wasn't good enough. Like I was okay, I was good, but the level over there is really high. I think my best result was 66th in the World Cup, which, when you've got fields of 90 to 120 riders, it's sort of mid-pack, but it's not where I was hoping to be. Very delusional of me. But yeah, it was super hard, wasn't super fast. And also sort of the lack of support from federation people. I don't know, it's sort of not a can of worms I really want to open, but that made it a pretty easy decision to go, well, fuck, why am I spending so much money to race overseas under your flag? Like what is this? And on top of that also was, I remember in August when Kabul in Afghanistan was falling to the Taliban, we would have the TV on every morning watching the updates, and that sort of really impacted me in some way and made me want to try and do some better things with my time and energy. And so all of these different reasons sort of, I bought a camera also at the start of 2021 and got back into photography a bit more. And so it was all of these things that came together and sort of gave me the path that I could look to, which was photography, and I had all the reasons to stop racing. So it was quite a seamless transition straight into it.
So even though you're an XC, like you're still struggling to get federation help. So it's not just like, because everyone looks at that federation help and everything goes, oh, it's all the XC boys, it's all the Olympic guys, but you guys still aren't getting that much. Like it's a tiny slice of a tiny pie.
Yeah. I think some of the XC riders are getting more support now, which is great to see. But the money, from what I see, it's all going to the track and the road then probably cross country, and then downhill. Like but it's the track riders who are getting so much, and it's not trickling through. And it's a double. It's what comes first, chicken or the egg? Results get the money, money gets results. So how do you get to a position where you get in the money with that? I don't envy cycling for having to decide where the money goes. And they cop so much flack from all sides. It's difficult. I don't have the answers, but at the same point, I wish that there was more support when I was racing. I think a lot of riders felt the same and still feel the same.
Especially during those COVID years, because flying around after that would have been ruthlessly expensive.
Yeah. I mean, we found good flights. I think it was also cheap time because not many people wanted to fly, and it was sort of when flights were starting up again. But yeah, it was all sort of like, you sign all these waivers. If you get COVID, you're on your own, pay your own costs, and understandable. I decided to go in 2021 on my own back. Like, I didn't expect them to help me out. But yeah, it's all these little things that sort of added up from their side that, I don't know, maybe I'm jaded, but I don't know.
What was it about the conflict you mentioned in Iraq and everything falling to the Taliban and, watching everything else in the world kind of fall to crap? Like, what about that got you thinking about having a different purpose? Sorry.
Yeah, I think I've been inspired by Steve McCurry, who's a very well-known photographer, photojournalist. I don't know what you want to call him, but his photographs, I'm sure you've seen them, and I've been quite inspired by him and his work. And it was a sort of time where I don't know what I wanted to do, but I realized that, I thought that, sport is such a pointless thing when there's so much other shit going on in the world. And I thought, what is this performance sport? And now I can see both sides of it. I can absolutely see a place for sport, and I admire the people who are up there at the pointy end or just grinding away. But for me, I thought that I could be doing better things with my time and energy, especially when I was fucking mid-pack. So that was what helped. But yeah, it was just watching the scenes of the airport really in Kabul. I thought, there's better things I could be doing.
Fair enough. I often, whenever going for a cross country ride, have thought there's better things I could be doing.
Yeah, when your lungs are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, there's about a million things I could think of. But it's quite like a noble and cool reason to get into photography. Like, I mean, I got into it because I like the storytelling and shooting photos of people doing rad things. But to get in from that perspective is quite cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been I was into photography for a long time, but it definitely took a back seat. So when I was in year 8, we had a major project we had to do, and I did light painting, which is this sort of niche of photography. And so I was into it in a big way then, but it was sort of, 2021, I bought myself a little Fujifilm camera, and that got me back into it for fun and trying to do some sports stuff. And so I was into it, and I decided that I could do better things. And simultaneously, I got an opportunity from Australian Mountain Bike Magazine to do their coverage at the World Championships, where I wasn't competing. And so that then opened up that sort of career path that I could see of this being a sort of event race photographer, and how much fun it was, and that it was something that I could maybe make work. And so off the back of getting that opportunity to photograph at the race, I then could see photography being more and more a part of my life. And that was then when I sort of thought that maybe I could do something for good in the world with my photography skills.
Mm.
So that's something I'm still trying to figure out and work on now.
I don't think you'll ever fix it or find it. Like, it's one of those things that's the eternal chase. What did
For sure.
So how did that come around with A&B? So you were over in Europe already, and then you might they just reached out to you and said, "Hey, can you shoot some stuff here?"
Yeah, so I was living with Sam Fox, who is under 23s, now the national champion. And he used to race on this team, Marathon MTB, which was run by Mike Blewett, who runs A&B. And so Sam knew that I was taking photos, and we sort of both had this idea that, maybe I could shoot for the magazine and whatever. So Sam put me in touch with Mike, and I said, I'm into photography. Here's some photos I've taken. And Mike took a massive gamble on me. He had not seen any of my work. I could have been an absolute shit photographer. And even looking back at the photos, I go man, this photo's not even in focus. And I had delivered that to him. So he took a massive gamble on me, and he paid me money for it. And I got a photo bib, and it was sick. And so that opportunity really was sort of what started this sports photography thing.
Mm. So what did you kind of do? Like, you've obviously shot that, and then you're thinking about this photography thing. What were your next steps when you got home then? Just sell your bikes and buy cameras, or what was your kind of plan from there?
Yeah, so after the World Championships, I was then still in Europe for a couple of months, just hanging out. My brother, he had been racing for a continental road team in Austria, and he was in his last year of under 23, finishing his last year in under 23, and he decided that he also, we sort of, both decided that we'd call it quits at the end of that season. And so then we just sort of hung out in Europe. But a few weeks after the World Championships, I actually launched my camera down a very steep mountain and into a rocky ravine, which totally exploded it. Yeah, that was great. And so then went to a camera shop and dropped thousands of dollars into a better camera. I don't really know why. I just thought, this is great, nice camera. I'll just spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I think that helped me sort of turn a page into a more professional sort of mindset with it, where it's not this sort of fun, happy snap camera. It's more a professional sort of thing. And so then, I was shooting just for fun in Austria, doing a lot of landscape stuff. When autumn came and it started snowing, I had a lot of fun taking photos in the snow with the golden leaves. And then came back home and just went to all the races I could and sent all the free photos out that I could. And I had a lot of friends at the races, which was pretty useful. So I could just send my friends some photos and they'd use them because why not? And I obviously thought that the photos were okay, good enough to use. Then I thought I'll go over to Europe again. I've got a passport there. I've got an Austrian passport and some family, which makes things a lot easier. I'm very privileged to have that. So I could stay over there for months and months and months. And so, I decided I'd go back over to Europe as a photographer. I worked for about 4 months as a labourer for my dad, saved up some money, head over with a dream and just see what would happen.
So you're not making millions off your photos by then already? You're still labouring?
Oh, totally. Nah, it's, I think when I decided that I'd sort of chase it as a career, I realised that it was going to be a couple of years of being poor and fighting for it.
Yeah.
And so far that's proving to be absolutely true. But it's so much fun, and I'm making enough that I can keep doing it. I'm making a small profit slowly. So yeah, it's slowly working out, and I think I can see a path that I am going down that will come out in a good place sometime, somewhere. Yeah,
One day.
one
What
day.
what was it like heading back over and trying to get media bits and getting all your media passes and doing everything over there? Because I can't imagine it would be easy.
No, I was lucky. I contacted Mike Blewett to see if I could do the coverage for the races or the World Cups, and he
Mm-hmm.
was keen. So he got me all the accreditation for the whole season, which was awesome. Um, and all I needed to do was work faster than World Championships because I was slow there. So that was one thing I realized I had to work on was delivering quickly.
Mm.
So good content quickly because he needed them to be able to put up a gallery by the morning in Australia. So yeah, that he just like that was accreditation sorted. He's got a name, he knows all the right people, and he can
Mm.
get accreditation just like that. Um, and apart from him, I had a couple of my mates who'd said they'd pay me to take
Yep.
photos.
Yep. Sick.
And yeah, with that, I went over and I just thought I'd see what happens. I planned that I'd I didn't book any ACOM or any transport. I had listened to some podcasts with a lot of the early photographers like Boris Beyer and a lot of the other ones, Isaac Paddock, a heap of
Mm.
the photographers who are big in the mountain biking scene, and just hearing that they made it happen. They decided they want to do this and they went out and made it happen. And Boris, heard stories of him sleeping in vans and like in tents, race tents. And I was like, it's doable. Like, so yeah, I went to the camping shop, got a nice sleeping bag, a nice sleeping mat, and that was it. I thought, I'll try and bum ACOM and transport where I can off my mates and whoever else I know. And where I can't, I'll get the bus and the train and taxis if I really need to, or just walk and sleep wherever I need to sleep. Just make it happen.
I was discussing that with someone the other day. Like these days, mountain bikers won't go to an event unless there's 4-star Airbnbs like all the way around it and make it like glamorous. Whereas back in the day, you'd go and sleep in the back of your ute in a swag, like with all your mates and maybe shower once for the week. Like it seems to be getting a little bit more bougie, but if you want to make that shit happen, you got a budget. You just do it, right?
Mm. Yeah, totally. And Zoe Cuthbert, Commonwealth Games silver medalist, she was living out of her van last year. She'll be doing the same this year. Like, she's making it happen. There's no two ways about it. Like, she's just gonna make it happen, which is so sick to see.
It is, and like just pushing so hard under your own steam to do that is so inspirational as well to watch you and her and everyone else just like grinding to make these things happen. It's sick.
It's a cool part of the sport, I think. That there's sort of not too much money that everyone's soft. There's sort of enough money that people will fight to make it happen. Like the Van Zacks and heaps of other Aussies, especially in the downhillers and enduro, who go over, buy a van, and live off a dream. Just make it happen.
It does also mean like give us a good reason to follow you on Instagram. So me and Jack Fletcher will sit there and like share photos of what you're using for a fork for the day, or what other weird, like the trade table you set up in Threadbow, which was just random as fuck. Like, where do you get these ideas, and like, what do you, why? Like, it's so wild.
Yeah, well, pretty quickly I realized that people were really enjoying the content, and I was, making sure to share it because sort of a little part of me was thinking, if I share this and show everyone that I'm camping outside, maybe someone will offer me a room. And I think often, sometimes it would work out, but a lot of the World Cups, that was my option. But yeah, I mean, that tray table, I had a little store set up at the Crebo. There was a bloke selling sausages next to me, and I thought, I could open my own little store up. Had some chocolate ripple biscuits, had some cashews, maybe a bag of carrots and some crackers. I was cooking up some soup for lunch. So I had a whole shop going there.
So good.
But yeah, it's a lot of people have enjoyed watching my travels, and I'll meet people or I'll see people I haven't seen for a long time. They'll go, dude, I love watching your stuff over in Europe. It was one of the most fun things to see on Instagram. So it was cool to see that people were enjoying all of that at my own expense. But I had a lot of fun doing it as well. I've sort of decided that I'd rather camp out and do something silly like that than book accommodation to sit there by myself. I don't know. I've sort of like, that's a fun experience then, camping out. It's funny. And if you're just in a hotel by yourself, it's a lot of money and it's just there by yourself. So sort of a win-win, I guess. And if somebody invites me back to their place, even better. So, yeah, it works out.
It just seemed like that photo that Ryan Gilchrist got of you, like camping near a bins out the front of our place or whatever. I was like, what is he doing? You were literally just out the front of our door. Like,
yeah, I know. I felt bad coming in at like 2 a.m. and fucking unraveling my sleeping bag. I thought I'd be fine out there. I had spotted that position, that little tucked away corner, about a week before that. I thought, oh, that'd be perfect. And I thought, it's Monday morning. Oh, I'd seen the garbage truck come a day or two before. So I thought, oh, well, the garbers aren't going to come and disturb me. But I didn't really realize that everybody in that building would be leaving that morning and that they'd all be wanting to put their shit in the bin. So I couldn't have chosen a worse place, I don't think. I think your mate came around that corner with a bit of pace and nearly landed flat on me with all the rubbish.
Oh, God.
So I was glad he had his wits about him, but yeah.
That was so good. That was a good night too. I can understand why you're out till 2.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, good fun.
How's the old financial situation going now that you've invested all this money into cameras and you're investing into all this work? Like, are you getting paid or how's it kind of work for you? I guess is one thing people are going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting paid. It's always sort of hit and miss with how much people can pay with what you'd like to earn. But last year I earned money and I spent money on more camera gear. And January last year I had $8 to my name, and I was like, this isn't really go in the right direction. But then I realized, I've got so much more money wrapped up in camera gear. And now I can go to events and break even. I'm doing it very cheaply. So I know that's not always the case. And I know that I can do it cheaper than other people can just because of my personality and what I'm sort of willing to put up with. But so I can make some money and got a couple of grand going into Europe, which could last me a little bit until the races start up, and then I can hopefully earn more to sort of keep it going. But definitely not rolling in it, definitely not loaded, and still a cheapskate. So it is what it is.
I don't think you can take it out of anyone, eh? Like, even seeing
I don't
Boris,
think so. My grandma.
seeing Boris around, like, you just see him and he still looks like he wants to go camp in a tent.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's always going to live with me, this cheapskate part of me, which I'm not too fussed about. I think it's a useful habit, as long as you don't go too far. Like, there's definitely a level of cheapskate, and if you go past that threshold, then you're just a tight ass. Maybe that's it. You go from cheapskate to tight ass. But yeah,
you don't want to go. You don't want to go that far.
Nah, exactly.
What was it like being at the big races and then looking around and having the likes of Sven and Boris and other photographers you might have looked up to? What was that like for your first few races?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I remember the first. So I did, Val de Sol World Championships in 2021. That was my first race, and the week after was Lenzerheide World Cup. I remember there I was shooting film. So I shot maybe 4 rolls of film. And at the podiums, Sven saw I was shooting film and came up to me and said, "Oh, dude, you're shooting film." I was like, "Yeah, just trying to help." Yeah, I don't think yeah. So that was cool. Like he saw me and decided to come up and say hi, and that was cool. And yeah, it was amazing sort of being at all those big events, especially last year with all those photographers that you've seen for years and years. And more so, I guess downhill is where those big names are. But in the cross country, a lot of photographers that I look up to and have been looking at their photos for years and years. It's really cool to be there sort of next to them, shooting and meeting a lot of them and getting to know them. And yeah, it's quite a special place to be in where you sort of feel like you're slowly becoming part of that group of photographers who, follow the World Cup circuit around. It's really cool.
Why were you shooting film? Like, out of all that, I just got the film camera. Like, you went through 48.
Yeah, there's a long story for that. So I had, when I'd sort of, at the end of the season, flights were not cheap, or they were hard to get. I think a few of our flights had been cancelled or moved or whatever. And we really didn't want to quarantine. Didn't want to do that hotel quarantine because it was like $3,000 out of your own pocket. And I was like, I don't want to spend that money. Like, government pays for it, sweet, happy, but didn't want to pay for it. So then I had this idea that maybe I could just like ride back home, like ride down to Indonesia and then get a boat across the Darwin or something. And so for that, I should get a film camera that's, bomb proof, doesn't need batteries, and I can just shoot away and as a good backup. And so I bought this film camera, which is amazing. It's a tank. It's great. Didn't use it for that trip because that trip never happened. I did fly home. But yeah, so that was me testing the film camera out, and that was sort of my first foray into film photography, which I really enjoyed. It's really cool. But yeah, that's why I was shooting on film, just testing it out.
Did you have your normal camera on backup, or were you just 100% film?
I did, yeah. And I've took a funny photo with my little camera because it's a cropped sensor. It was a Fujifilm X-T30 entry level, like $1,500 for a kit, the body and the kit lens. And putting it down like on this, there was at the podiums, all the photographers would put down their second bodies. I put mine down at this tiny little thing against everyone else's like massive cameras. I was like, yeah, that looks so out of place. But yeah, so I had two bodies. I'm pro as. I had two cameras. That's all you need.
That's so good. I would have laughed if you just put your film camera down next to theirs and just, that would have been mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Just like, what?
Yeah, but I definitely got to crack out that film camera at more races. It's quite fun. I think I've realised it's better for like memories and fun stuff than like work. But it's, definitely got to crack it out more. But maybe in less important times. Yeah.
I've been looking at like those Ilford like snap and shoot reusable kind of non-reusable cameras. They're just like basic. Like $50 and you can refill them with film. I'll just a basic little film camera would be sick.
They're a lot of fun just to shoot off, and they're great. I think I saw last year that Boris he'd buy a disposable camera for every World Cup, and at the end of the season he'd get more developed and you'd have this 36 frames of memories from each race, and it looked like a really fun idea. Like it's not work; it's just the fun side of it. And there's something about film, like film photos, they just look really nice, and they've got this nostalgic feeling for them. Even if you took them like last week, they're sick. It's quite a fun thing to have on you. I think just pull out and snap some shots off.
I guess it's not instant, so you forget about most of them by the time they're developed. So you actually are reliving that memory. Was the old digital
Yeah, it's half
camera
the
in?
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you never know what you're going to get, and you get them developed, and there's a handful that you totally forgotten you took, and fuck, that was sick. I remember that. Like, it's quite fun, and digital doesn't really compare, and even trying to get digital photos to look like film, it's really, really tricky to do.
Mm.
There's something magic about film, I think.
And you even got a
Mm.
cover like there ish. You got the cover for A and B, like photo of the year, and that's film too, right?
On film. Yeah. So got to try and get another cover on film. Got to got to try and get some more. But yeah, that was sick. I really liked that. That was the photo that Mike
Mm.
thought was a good one for the cover. And I love the idea that my first cover was on film. Seems something quite romantic about that with photography and whatever. So that was really cool. And I think it'd been obviously quite some time since there'd been a cover that was on film, so it was special to keep that going.
I could just think of all the people at the magazine going, "How do we do this again? Like, how do we get film onto this cover? Like, how do we do it again?"
Yeah. Yeah, something a bit different. But yeah, no, it was very cool. It was very cool.
What was it like entering that competition and doing like the whole photo of the year thing?
It was really fun. Yeah. I think I'd seen it in previous years, but obviously last year was my first proper year as a photographer. Um and when Mike, like, end of 2021, Mike had mentioned it to me, but they were closed. And he said, dude, you should enter next year. Back then in whatever that was, September. And so this year he reminded me again, get an entry in, and it was difficult to decide which pictures I wanted to submit, but yeah, I got it in with maybe 2 hours to spare. Maybe it was half a day or something with the time zone, but I really left it to the last minute. And then it was silence for a little bit, just it's off. Okay, cool. And then Mike sent me a message asking if we could have a chat about something. I can't remember what, about one of the races or whatever. Been pretty mundane. And I gave him a time, and he called me up to tell me that I'd won and have a bit of an interview with me. And I didn't think it was going to be a call like that. So the time I told him, we had pulled up in a mountain valley to camp on the way up a mountain, and we'd slept there the night I was with my friend in his camper van. And the next morning I had this call, and I thought it was going to be a pretty standard call that, I just needed reception for. And then, so we had this beautiful view, and my friend got a video of me in the van on the phone with this massive view. That was pretty
So
funny.
sick.
But it was a very fitting place to be having that call. It was quite special.
Yeah, that's sick. And it was good to see you up there because it was someone different. Like, it wasn't the usual people you kind of expect in the Australian scene to be up there.
Yeah, I think I sort of snuck in as a bit of a sleeper. I think I didn't have any work that I'd done in Australia, really, because I started to get good when I got to Europe, where I was shooting so much and having to deliver and that. So I feel like I was relatively unknown until that came out. And obviously people saw my work in A&B and in some of the magazines before that. But I certainly am quite new to it, new to the scene. But that was really cool to get recognition that I was doing something right. I'm on the right track. And it just helped me see that, people like my photos. And it's something's working.
Something's definitely working. That's for sure. So your plans this year to shoot all the World Cups and stuff. Are you on contract with anyone? Like, what's your planning like for this year?
Yeah, I just signed a contract with a federation for not much money, but that's all part of it. So I've got a couple of clients. There's a team that I think I'll be shooting for most of the season, a cross country team, and this federation, that's some cross country staff, and so there's clients here and there that have talked to me about photos. There's only a few who have actually, I feel like I'm locked into.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's the cross country, and the downhill and enduro I'll turn up to and see if people want photos, and hopefully I can earn a buck or two. But it's definitely the cross country where I can earn the money, and it's the cross country that I enjoy more. It's definitely my focus. I think that because of my history as a cross country racer, I'm sort of in this unique position where I've got a lot of insights into the sport and the racing and the athletes. So I think I work with the athletes well as well. Like I think I've got a bit of an understanding, and so the cross country is definitely my focus, and I love the emotions that you get in it. Downhill is fun. You get some sick shots, and you get plenty of emotion in the finish bowl. But in the race run, a lot of the time it's just eyes or body position. Whereas I love in cross country how you've got emotion the whole way. You've got emotion at the start of this seriousness, and then you've got during the race where they're like breathing out of their ass, and then you've got the finish where they're cooked and upset or stoked. Like you've got it all, and so much more time to find the shots you want. And I don't know, I just really like the cross country. I love the enduro and the downhill as well, but the cross country is definitely my main one.
Cross country definitely seems fun to shoot, and like a lot easier because you just can follow them around for a couple of hours, right? Or an hour.
I quite like. I mean, it's still like you still find out the places you want to shoot, like you would in the downhill, and you've sort of got these ideas in your head of where you want to get to, and so you'll be at the start. You'll shoot start portraits. You'll shoot them actually starting the race, and then you'll go to your first spot, and then you'll go to your next spot, and you'll sort of tick them all off, and then you'll be back at the finish for the finish. But I love that I can get 20 racing pictures of somebody if I need to. Whereas in downhill, you can get, you've got one, maybe two race shots in a downhill run, plus however many practice laps, whatever, like 5 to 8, I don't know. And then I really like the sort of candid before and after of the races. Like I really like the start portraits and the emotions at the finish, and that sort of behind the scenes candid feeling, which you can get in downhill as well, quite a lot actually. But I like with cross country how you can get the whole thing, and it's fun to work the courses. There's obviously like all of the big World Cup courses, there's spots that all the photographers go to. They shoot them every year, and they're fun. There's big spots, but it's really fun to try and find some unique perspectives that maybe haven't been used or have, but just working to put your own creative spin on it. And I think with a cross country track, you've got more options of places to shoot, whereas a downhill track, it's one track. You've got generally there's one main side. There's plenty of options actually. Now I think of it, but I feel like cross country, you've got more time and more to work with. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I love it.
Probably is. It was funny shooting derby, and you see all the big guys, and they're all in a line, and they're all like next to each other, and it's all getting the same shot, and it's just like, I'm gonna move on. Like, they're all standing there because it's a good shot, but like, there's only so many snaps of that one angle that you want to see.
Yeah, and it's sort of similar in the cross country. There'll be a group of photographers who'll shoot the start, they'll go to the first spot together, they'll go to the second spot, and they'll just follow each other around, which is super useful to know, like, this is a good spot. And then you go there and you go, okay, I can see why. Yep. But you also don't need to follow them. And you can be at the same spot different times in the race and get totally different pictures. But yeah, there's obviously the shots that you really should get, you don't need to get, but people want
Mm.
them, clients want them. Um, and they are sick shots, like there's a reason. But I do quite, it's nice to not follow around that group and to work a different place or work that place and try to get something different. Like, yeah, just try to get a different creative outlook on it, which is a good challenge. It's fun.
100%. How was getting course recce and stuff at Derby on the Thursday, Wednesday, the practice day?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Yeah. Both Derby and Nadine, I felt like I was a
Yeah,
step
right.
behind the whole day. Um, yeah. So you and I, we were both on analog bikes without uplift, so it's a bit of a pedal up to the top. And even just getting around in like from track to track's quite difficult. So yeah, practice I shot maybe 3 or 4 tracks, and then same in the race I shot
Mm.
4 of the 6 courses, which doesn't
It's
feel
pretty
like it's
good.
ideal. Yeah, yeah, but I mean, of 6, like if you can, I mean, I don't know how the top dogs do get around and shoot everything, and I think they also don't shoot every track. But it's something definitely got to try and wrap my head around is how to shoot an enduro because it's so different to do a downhill and a cross
Mm.
country. It's a whole different ball game. So
It
that's fun. It'll be something that I'm looking forward to trying to figure out.
definitely messed with my head. That was like the hardest race I've ever shot, I reckon. That was so many little rules and things. I got one shuttle up, so that was pretty rad. Actually, no, I think I got 2
Mm.
shuttles up, but that was pretty rad. But
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to ride my bike down the tracks,
Nah. Yeah.
which is,
Which I mean, I can.
I
It's
get it
annoying.
100%, but like, you're just like, oh, I could have just left this at home. I'm like, yeah,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can totally see both sides of it. Um. But yeah, I mean, yeah, something to figure out. I don't know. It would be fun to ride the tracks, but at the same time, I don't know whether I'm fast enough to be trying to ride those tracks with a backpack. I'd probably just eat shit. I don't know.
that's
So
pretty.
maybe it's for the best.
It was pretty chill. It was good.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't ride the tracks.
No.
But yeah, seeing like the way, do you watch what the other guys are doing to kind of get ideas? Because I was watching them the whole weekend, and they're such a well-oiled machine. Like, it was bullshit
Mm.
how quick they packed up, got on their bikes, rode to the next stage, were unpacked, had every shot they wanted already in their brain. Like, they knew everything.
Mm. Yeah, it's super useful to to follow those photographers around because they know where to be, they know when to be there. And just watching the process of how they work is really interesting. And I found that in the cross country, um, how much you can learn just from following another photographer around and seeing the locations they choose, and yeah, how they work it and get a interesting angle and all that sort of stuff. Like you can learn a lot just from following them. So it's cool to. I mean, that's what's cool about mountain bike photography is that everyone's there. You're all doing the same job in
Mm.
the same place, and you can like learn off each other and copy, or follow whatever, be inspired by, like whatever
Mm.
you want to call it. Like it's cool that everyone's there.
Yeah. And
Mm.
everyone is supportive. It's pretty rad.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I've found everyone's keen to help you out, give you some tips, show you a spot. And I
Mm.
haven't necessarily found that in road photography, but mountain biking
Mm.
photography, everyone's super open. And I feel like we're all in it together. Like I think we're all just trying to get 6 shots and make the sport a bigger and better sport.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I think we are all in it together. Mm.
So what was a usual like shoot day schedule or something for you? Like a World Cup race for XC. So You getting up like super early for those ones because they're practicing at arse o'clock, or?
Usually on race day, I've done the practice is much more chill in cross country because I've got a good couple of hours for quite a few days in the lead up. But so usually get up at time the under 23 women would start at 8:30. So I'd get up at
Okay.
7, roll up my sleeping bag and sleeping mat, go into the media room, pick up a couple of Red Bulls if they're free, get whatever else I can that's free. Maybe I've made a coffee on my stove. But yeah, then it's be at the race at 8, so half an hour before the start. You get that before the race and warming up and on the start line. And usually the under 23 women and the under 23 men were back to back. So you'd finish one. Generally, I'd just start shooting a warm up for the men. And then after the under 23 men, there'd be maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours where you could go back to the media room and ingest your cards. So get all your photos off your cards onto the computer. And maybe you can edit a couple and send some photos out, but it's pretty quick that you're back out to do warm up for the women's and then for the women and then for the men. So it's quite a big day, and each race is between an hour and a half. So it's getting on to 6 hours of actual racing, actual shooting, plus all the faff between. And then you're done at maybe 4:35, and then you do podiums, and then you go back to the media room and you start editing, and you keep editing until you get kicked out of the media room, and then you take as much of the leftover food as you can, and then you maybe sit at the front and keep editing, and then you go and find a campsite for the night.
Yeah.
So it's a long day.
What time are you usually finishing up editing?
Usually I could get it. Actually, the Sunday would usually be quite late, and the last day I generally have a lift in place for somebody to take me somewhere, or I wouldn't be in much of a rush. So that last day, Sunday, I'd maybe finish up at 2 or 3 in the morning. But downhill, I'd usually be done by 10. And then I just go to bed to wake up for the next day. But yeah, I think actually that Sunday I'd very rarely be camping out that night. I'd usually have camped out the night before. Generally, I'd have somebody I can crash with or hang out with, and I would just stay up and edit and get everything out, which is quite important for the race photography to have photos out quick. And so I'd try and have at least enough photos for somebody to put a post up by the morning. Ideally, I'd have a full gallery out for them, and for A and B, I'd have their gallery out ASAP because they sort of need it by 9 p.m., 10 p.m. in Europe time. But everybody else, if they can have photos by the next morning, that's sort of ideal. And if I've had a good result or a podium, I'll have gotten them photos heaps early so they can put a post up that night. But it's just, I think there's no two ways about it. That it's just a long night of editing, and that's part of it. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Are you using presets or anything yet? Or you got anything to make it more efficient? Or is it?
Yeah, I've got sort of like a base edit, and I'll sort of just tweak local adjustments. But I think I take a lot of time on my photos. I'm not a fast editor, which is good and it's bad. I think there's pros and cons to it. But I think I usually get about 20 photos per hour, usually, which isn't actually that fast. I don't know. But yeah, if I yeah, people have been happy, and when they're not happy, I'll have to work faster and figure out how to speed it all up. But it's been working. Um, but I've sort of realized also that I don't want to be a super fast photographer. I don't want to be the one who's getting his photos out the first or the fastest. I want to, the person who gets really good photos. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think I want to be the person who takes more time, has more of a relationship with the clients and the writers, and just, yeah, is not super fast, but when they do get them out, it's good
Mm.
results. So, yeah, hopefully I can sort of keep with that theme.
Yeah. There's certain photos I've seen before that come out, like not of yours, but like they come out so fast, but they're just like a generic photo. There's nothing super exciting, which is fine for Instagram, where people will see it for 2 seconds and maybe read a caption.
Mm.
Like it's fine. But that quality work, like you see, like Sterling Lawrence and some of the other big dogs in Canada and Dave Trumpmore doing, and that really hits. Like that's so much more worth it to me.
I think there's sort of two types. There's the sort of the press photographers, and there's the more creative photographers. And you see it, I think, much more clearly in road photography, where there's the sort of newspaper editorial photos, which they show what's happening. You see it, yep, winner, whatever, sick.
Yeah.
The photos themselves don't have emotion or this sort of feeling to them. And then there's the photographers like the Grubers, Harriet Talbot, Kiwi Kid. Like there's these other photographers who take time and they're creative. You look at them and you go, this is a beautiful photo. Like they're the photos that you can hang up on your wall because they're nice to look at. They show what's happening as well, but they're just nice to look at. So yeah, I think there's those two sort of photographers, and there's space for them both for sure. But yeah, I definitely like to think of myself as the latter. But yeah.
Yeah, like some of that road photography is amazing, but then it's so hard to shoot. Like shooting road is next level.
Yeah, I'd love to try it one day. I think the Tour de France would be really fun to shoot, but it looks so incredibly hard. I've got a friend, this Kiwi guy, Harriet Talbot, who is doing a full season on the road this year, shooting, and it just looks crazy. Like they're just so different. You do a road race, 200K road race, and you can shoot them maybe 3 times. Like
Yeah, I know.
it's a totally different sort of game. And then the tour at start, but 3 weeks on, like it just looks like so crazy.
Yeah, I know. Like a friend of mine's over there shooting the women's, and like the motorbike took him to the wrong spot. Like because they're on the back of this moto, and the guy like completely got it wrong. So they missed this whole section of shooting because he got there like two. Yeah, it's so wild.
And you can't fix that. Like
No,
even just traffic, like you're just so at the mercy of the race, and yeah,
it's crazy. Still be fun though. Like I want to shoot the Paris Roubaix. Like that looks sick. That looks like one to shoot for sure.
Yeah. Strada Bianchi similar, just like a beautiful race.
Or some random
one day.
Yeah. Or a cyclocross race in like the middle of Norway or something crazy like that. Just where the fans are wild. Like that's shit.
A lot of races to tick off.
There are, yeah. What are you shooting with at the moment?
So at the moment I have my an A7R3, which is great. And then earlier in the year I bought an A7 IV. So I've got 2 bodies, and I shoot strictly on primes, which I'm not yet sure whether that's a good decision or not, but it's the decision I've made. So 2 bodies is very useful.
Why don't you just make things harder? You're just making everything harder.
Yeah. Well, last year I only had the 85mm prime, and I shot probably 90% of stuff on that one lens. So I realized that I do like something about primes, and I really value sharpness and low ISO. And so I've sort of pigeonholed myself into buying primes, which they're fun. I really like how they push you to think a little bit differently. Like you can't just zoom in and out. If you want to change your composition, you move. And if it doesn't work, you find a way to make it work, or you have to switch to another lens, which is the downside. It is slow to change lenses. But I like how it pushes me creatively to find things that look cool.
So what primes are you shooting with? Like what lenses do you have?
So I've got 14 mil, so sort of standard ultra wide, which is very mountain bikey. I've got a 35 mil and an anamorphic 35 mil, which is fun to play around with. And
of course, everyone's got one, right? Like,
yeah, it's something a little bit different, a little bit unique. But definitely something that's been enjoyable to play with, and something that's really fun for video and the very infrequent times that I do video. It's quite fun. And then I've got, the 85 mil, which is, I love it. It's super sharp and super cheap. And then I got a macro 105 mil, which I bought to scan film, which I haven't really used for like race stuff, but it's sort of quite nice for product stuff. And then a 135 mil, which is sort of what I bought to cover the 70 to 200 lens, it's quite nice. It's not super punched in, but it's punched in enough to look quite nice. But all of the lenses, I'm still figuring out how to use them, when to use them. So it's all a learning process.
Your bag must be so heavy. Like just thinking about all of those.
I was at the airport the other day, and they wanted me to take out some stuff from my checked luggage to put in my carry-on so that I'd have to pay less for excess luggage. And they said, "How full is your bag?" And I said, "Oh, nah, it's not super full." And then they were going to call up my check bag to bring it back so I could put stuff in. I said, "Oh, are you guys going to weigh my carry-on?" I said, "Yeah, we are." I was like, "Okay, maybe don't bother," because I had weighed that bag about 5-10 minutes ago and it was 13.9 kilos and I had 14 kilos of carry-on. And then I also had my laptop bag. So yeah, it was heavy. But I also like to think of it as my way of staying fit now that I'm not racing. So I get to lug around 10, 15 kilos up the hills at each race weekend. So,
that's not too bad. I thought it was going to be heavier.
Benefits and everything. Yeah, no, it's not that bad. But you could definitely have lighter setups, I think. But I'm also not too fussed to carry around a heavier setup to have more options. Like it's not, I haven't got to a point where I'm going, "Oh, my bag's so heavy." It's just is what it is, and so make it work.
I think mine's 9 or 10. Yeah. I've never got caught out by weight. Yeah.
Nah, and you've got video stuff too, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. The old put the camera on. Yeah. You just put the camera on your strap, the lens in your pocket, you weigh your bag, then you put it all back in.
Yeah.
They never check it again.
I haven't had any actual. I've been quite lucky. I haven't had any real problems with my carry-on. They've always been okay. It's always been close enough, which is good. I would hate for them to really crack the shits when I'm over and want me to put it in the hold or whatever. I'd hate. Yeah. Fingers crossed. So, yeah.
How often are you getting stopped at security with the
Not
bag?
that often. Yeah, what was the last one I got stopped for? It's so rare. Every airport's different. The one in Launceston just now, they said that you can take full water bottles through customs, where everywhere else you can't. Some places you need to take your laptop out. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes they want all your camera gear out. Sometimes they don't. I don't know. It's always different, it feels. But yeah, most of the times I get stopped. Always for something else. I just want to have another look usually. But yeah,
Melbourne's the
nothing
best
ever
for it.
bad.
Melbourne is the
Is
worst
it?
every time. You can fly there
Oh,
with a
really?
you can fly there with like everything in your bag, and then you have to take half of it out when you get Melbourne. It's fucked.
Oh,
I had
yeah,
a
that's interesting.
what do I have, a Zoom H4 recorder, like audio recorder. They used to carry around as backup, and that looks a lot like a taser. So,
Oh, yeah, okay.
so they always pulled me up on it. I'm like, don't worry, it's not a taser. Like we're fine.
Yeah, it's just a taser that looks like a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
pretty. The whole media airport thing is always fun. It's fun to watch.
Mm, yeah. It's always different. That's quite funny. Yeah.
Are you going to any other races or any other stops while you're over in Europe? Are you going to any of the crankworks or doing any of that thing again?
I would have loved to have gone to Crankworks Innsbruck, but
Mm.
it's another clash. It clashes with one of the Enduro World Cups. So I'll go to the Enduro. I'll do a lot of the Swiss Cups, which are cross country races.
Yeah.
And yeah, then all of the World Cups. And I'm planning to head to North America for snowshoe and Montserrat as well at the end of the season,
Yeah.
which will be fun. And then, yeah, fill in whatever other races come up. And I know people who are racing or I've got a way to get there.
Mm.
Sort of see what happens. There's a big gap in July, I think, that's pretty dead. There's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's when the Tour de France is on. So I think Discovery is stretched a bit thin. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe just go for a holiday or, yeah,
Crazy.
I don't know. Just, yeah, see what happens.
Go shoot in
Yeah.
Ukraine again or whatever you did last year.
Yeah, no, I'll go to Ukraine. Basically, when I get there, I'll head back over and to see the people I met there last year, which will be fun. Looking forward to seeing all of them and got some more stories I've planned to tell. Yeah, so that'll be cool.
What was it like shooting there?
Mm.
Like something completely
It was
different.
cool. Yeah. I'm not sure whether you're purposely using the term shooting there.
Taking
I
photos.
was photographing.
Yeah.
I was photographing. Yeah, yeah. It was an incredible experience. I had, at the end of 2021, when I was wanting to do something more meaningful, I had thought I'd go to Pakistan to the border in a town called Peshawar, where there's 1.2 million Afghani refugees.
Mm.
And that was sort of the way I thought I could try and do something and tell some stories. And then February came around and Russia invaded Ukraine, and I thought, well, okay, I can get to Ukraine pretty easily. There's a World Cup in the Czech Republic, and then it's like 5 hours on the train to the border. So I thought, I could just go there and do that. And so I did. I did the race in the World Cup in Novo Mesto, and then got on a train and went to Krakow, a city in Poland, and then went to the border. There was a big refugee centre that was set up at this border town in an old Tesco shopping centre. I was sort of thought I'd go there and try and meet some people and try and tell some stories, or just see what the situation is like, see if I could get into Ukraine. I turned up there. I met a guy at the hostel. He had been working at the Tesco, and he introduced me to everyone and introduced me to a clown who said that he was going to Ukraine the next day and whether I would want to go with them. So I thought, well, yeah, I've been planning to find a way into Ukraine, and this sounds like a way into Ukraine. So the next day I packed my bags and went into Ukraine with a clown, which was quite a funny story, retrospectively. Yeah.
Like out of everywhere, you're going to catch a ride with a clown from Poland into Ukraine. It's not, it's just getting weirder.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was quite Yeah, it worked out really well. He was with this Spanish foundation who'd been working in Ukraine for 30 years, I think,
Yeah.
and doing different sort of work now with the war. And so he was going in there to do a performance. They had an apartment in a town where there was 170 refugees they had there,
Yeah. Okay.
mostly women and children. And so he was going there to do a performance for them and sort of give them something fun to do and give the
Mm,
parents something nice and enjoyable for their kids. So it
mm.
was actually quite nice to be a part of and photograph. And hopefully I'll be able to link up with him again this year. He says he's got plans to do more of a proper tour in Ukraine with his circus. So hopefully we can link up again, which would be really fun.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Such a wild like side journey to shooting World Cups. It's just head to Ukraine and talk about that stuff. That'd been sick.
Yeah. And then to add to that, I was in a kebab shop and three mountain bikers came in and I said, "Oh, hey, guys, mountain bikers." I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm a photographer. I've done some stuff for this magazine and, could I go with you to the trails and take some photos?" And they were really friendly. One of the guys, he had a bike that I could borrow, a common style Clash.
Sick.
So went to their local tracks that they'd hand dug and we just hung out, did some riding and I took some photos and so that was cool. I didn't think that my first time riding in Europe that year was going to be in Ukraine, but things happen, yeah. And then also separately to that, I met a photographer on the streets, and he was the mayor's photographer, like
Yeah, right.
the city photographer, random,
Yeah.
and he knew this guy, Yura Starotha, who's a slopestyle rider. And so I met up with this slopestyle rider who is been racing sort of on the FMB World Tour and has done some events in Poland and
Oh yeah, sick.
knew Nikolai Rogatkin because they both speak Russian. And so there was these two separate mountain bikers that I had linked up with in Ukraine. Like, yeah, quite random, but really interesting. So it'll be fun to meet up with them again and try and figure out some stories of theirs to tell with photos and words, which would be really cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick. I look forward to that.
Mm.
Might start wrapping things up a little bit here. Taking over an hour.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anyone that's looking to become the pro photographer or get into photography or travel around the world?
I think I'd have to say just like commit to it, make it happen. Like I think that looks different for everybody. And I sort of have to recognize my privilege of my family, my financial situation, my family in Europe. Like there's so many things that let me do what I can do.
Mm.
But I think there's something to be said for just committing to it and just making it happen. Whatever that sort of is, if that's you racing, like it's working and getting the money to do it, and maybe it's living cheaply whilst you're over there or whatever. But it's I think there's a lot to be said just to commit to it and make it happen. I don't know if that's good advice or not, but I think it's worked for me. Is working.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Only one way to find out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything you would have changed or done differently up until now?
I don't think so. Nah. I think it's all been pretty good. It's such a classic question that I've heard so many times, but I've obviously never actually thought about.
Yeah.
There was this one time I crashed and that hurt. And maybe I would have braked or turned. People were telling me I should have zigged when I zagged.
Yeah.
So maybe if I had done that, I could have saved my hip. But I also I got some views on TikTok, so it all comes out in the wash. So I can't really complain. So yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I'd really change, and obviously nothing sprung to mind, so there's nothing so important. So yeah, I think it's all worked out pretty well.
And yeah, I need to find that TikTok video. When you're like, obviously you're in the middle of Europe and it's freezing, or you've had a bad night's sleep in the gutter, or whatever else has gone wrong, and there might not be enough motivation in the day. Is there anything you do, or is there any music or anything you listen to get motivated for that day?
That's a good question. I do quite like music, and I've got a very big range of different music that I listen to. Yeah, if I'm feeling a bit down or bored, I think quite often I do like to talk to people if I'm feeling a bit down the dumps. And because of my traveling, I think like quite often that's just loneliness, like not seeing people that you can just chat to. And so then I would, maybe try find some people to talk to, or go to the supermarket, talk to. Like, I don't know, just try and be around people, I think is quite useful. But also music. Yeah, music's always useful, pump you up. I've always got music cranking when I'm editing, so that's a very useful tool.
What are you kind of listening to these days when you're editing?
Lately, basically, it's quite often this sort of like Turkish trap music, like nice heavy beat. It's got these good vocals, quite beautiful, and I can't understand it, which is nice. It's just like this beat. That's sick. But it's either that or I just press shuffle and just click until I find something on my playlist. There's everything there, so there's always something for every mood. So I do love my playlists. Yeah.
That's so sick. I'm going to go listen to some Turkish trap music then.
Oh, do it. I'll send you some. I'll send you some good artists.
Yeah. I've been expanding my horizons a bit lately, and it's gone down some rabbit holes. So I'm pretty excited to find some new stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun finding new music. I do love it. That feeling we go, this tune, this goes.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's so sick. Easy, man. Well, again, thanks so much for coming on and chatting to us. It's been a real pleasure.
No worries. Thank you for having me on. It's a cool opportunity to talk about my life and myself. It's it's been really fun. So thank you.
I look forward to seeing your work this year. I think it's going to be a big year for you, so I'm keen.
Oh, same to you, man. I'm looking forward to seeing all your photography. Keep going, and hopefully I'll see you over in Europe or something.
Yeah, that's not going to happen this year, but there's heaps of local racing to shoot this year, so I'll do that.
Always. Yeah. I'll see you back in Oz then.
Yeah, for sure. Medina, I reckon.
Fuck yeah.
Easy, dude. Well, take it easy. Have a safe trip to Europe, and can't wait to see how your year goes.
Will do. Yeah, thank you.
Easy,
should be a good one. All right, catch ya.
Thanks, Ben. Bye. Thanks for listening to that one, guys. Piper is a super unique, super humble, really, really nice guy. Glad to have him on the episode. And if you ever see him about with his luscious blonde locks flowing in the wind, make sure you say hi. Check out his Instagram because there are going to be some bangers this year. As per usual, thanks to our supporters, Trek, Franked, Fist, Shred, Lead Out Sports, Taylor Trails Dirt Surfers, and Cabs Out Caps. These guys offer some of the best products on the market, and I wouldn't be promoting them if I didn't like them. Make sure you use the codes Beyond the Tape or Beyond the Tape 10 at checkout. Get a bit of a discount. If you don't want to support those guys, then you're an idiot. But anyway, if you don't want to throw any cash around, make sure you share this podcast with your mum, your dad, your uncle, your grandma, your chicken, whoever. And spread the word around. Review it on iTunes. Do all the things. And thanks so much. Anyway, until next episode, go out and have a bunch of fun.